Your Honor, this is case number 101 on the calendar in the matter of Chan Williams versus McDonald.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Who's going to speak for the two of you?
I'll speak first.
It's your claim that you did some work for the defendant who owns a bar in creating a website for him. You are owed $2,000 for the work that you did in creating this website. The defendant's answer is a rather novel one. Let me read the last line just so that you understand what his defense is. Okay. None of the people who work at the club expects to get paid. That's your defense.
Correct.
This isn't run by some charitable organization, this club of yours. Is it a club or a bar? What is it?
It's an event promotion company, and we do, this is referring to the Sunday night club that we do.
Explain the club to me.
It's a drum and bass hip hop club.
And do you have a room?
2 rooms, sound system, lighting.
And people come there to dance?
Exactly.
Do you serve alcohol?
Yes.
You have a license to serve alcohol?
The bar owns the license.
How much admission do you charge?
$5.
And how long have you had the club?
Nearly 2 years.
Is it running up and running? Does it do okay?
Yes, does well.
And do you do anything else other than own this club?
Yeah, I do a lot of the work behind it.
Other than the club itself? I'm not talking about Sunday night. I mean,
For a
you're
living?
a carpenter, a plumber, a shoe salesman. Do you do anything else other than the club?
Yeah, I'm a web designer.
And you make money from that?
Yes.
You make good money from that?
Fair money.
Good. You filed tax returns last year?
Yes, I did.
How much did you earn on your tax returns?
I don't remember.
Think hard. Everybody, I mean, was it millions?
No, not at all.
Less than 100,000?
Yes.
Then you would remember exactly how much you put down that you earned on your tax returns, sir. So be very careful when you give me your answer.
About 30,000.
And what portion of that is from the club?
None of the club is filed in my tax returns. That's just for my separate job.
Is this club in Costa Rica?
No.
It's here in the United States of America?
Yes, it is.
So what do you mean it's from a separate job?
My tax, I don't claim the club earnings or loss in my taxes.
Why not?
We aren't a registered business yet.
Well, you say you've been doing well. You have gigs every Sunday night. You collect $5 a person. The club is doing fine. So somebody's making money. It has to be you who's paying taxes on the money that you earn at the club.
The bar that we contract through pays their taxes. And
you have a contract with a bar?
Well, we contract that night, the Sunday night.
So you have a contract?
Yes.
Is it a written contract or an oral contract?
Oral contract.
Okay.
We're in there Sundays. We do our job.
You're not going to get away from your taxes yet. How many people are at the club on any given Sunday night?
It's really hard to say.
Well, think hard. 50, 75. You say the club is doing well. These people have been to the club, have you not? Mm-hmm. Approximately how many people are there on any given Sunday?
Probably about a couple hundred people.
Not a couple hundred. We average 100.
I'd say a couple hundred people.
Let's say he averages 100.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay? Mm-hmm. Just a minute. Let's say he averages 100. 100 at $5 a person. That would be $500, wouldn't it?
Every day.
$500 every Sunday. And there are usually 4 Sundays in a month.
Correct.
So that would be about $2,000, a little bit more sometimes. There are 3 Sundays in a month, but let's say $2,000 a month. And Mr. McDonald, according to your defense, none of the people who work at the club expects to get paid. So the club makes $24,000 a year.
There are other expenses of people that don't work for us.
Like
promotion, for printing flyers.
Yes.
Anything that we out-contract, we do have to pay for. Plane tickets, flying talent.
So who keeps the books on that?
Me and my partner do.
You and your partner?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Step up, partner. Name?
Hello. Carlo.
You have a last name?
Fox.
I didn't ask you your social security number, I just asked you your name. What else do you do other than work in the club, Mr. Fox?
I pretty much work in the club scene. I also help my girlfriend who has a promotional business, and that's aside from the business that me and him have together.
Now, did you file tax returns last year? No, you didn't. Right?
No, I didn't. And that's because the club did not turn a profit, though.
Oh, that's baloney.
And I can explain to you why it is that the club didn't turn a profit.
Well,
we do-
you had 5 minutes to think about it, and I'm dying to hear the answer, Mr.
Okay,
Fox.
We have
what-
existing past debt.
We have existing past debt, but even that totally aside, we bring in big DJs. We bring in big talented DJs that bring a lot of people. We have to sometimes fly them from other cities. Once to twice a month, we're flying in DJs from other cities, and they could cost anywhere from $300 to $1,500. And so it's like, and yes, on those nights that we have $1,500 DJs, more people will come. We'll have maybe 250, 300 people down there.
Really?
But at the same time, if you do the math on that, 300 people at $5 a head, that's breaking even. And so it's for the most
I
part.
wouldn't run a business where I was just breaking even.
But we love it. It's like something that we care about the music.
So it's like a
child.
charity.
It's not charity, but
it's like a creative thing.
Now let's get back to the lawsuit, now that I've tortured them sufficiently. Tell me about the creation of this website that you discussed with them and what the financial arrangement was.
Okay, back in August, while we were at the Sunday night club, Ian approached us with the offer that if we agreed to be in charge of...
I didn't approach them.
I didn't ask you anything yet.
That if we agreed to be in charge of certain duties such as talent management, video recording, hosting interviews, and all this is for the website. Mike here is a graphic designer, so he helped out with a lot of the graphics for the website. And also, I did a lot of the articles for the website, and he also is a resident DJ. And if we were to be responsible solely for these duties for 6 months, that he would give us $2,000. And we haven't been paid.
Did you do what you were supposed to do on the
Yes.
website?
It was more than just a website, too.
Tell me what you did. See,
well-
you can't talk. Good.
What we do is live video of the DJs that they bring in. We put those on the website. In fact, as an added bonus,
So you videotape.
I videotape them, yeah, and I've also has them on my website, poosmoke.com. I've put the stuff that I've recorded, I put it on my website, which is like a nice thing to do because web space costs money. So I do donate a little bit of mine. But we do interviews.
Donate.
Well, donate as a friendly gesture, exactly. It's
Did
donation.
I say anything to you?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Me and Julie were dating, so I thought it was friends working together to better the club.
And later today,
Who's Tamara?
I was a made-up person.
So you lied to the police.
I was drunk, so I was just mumbling at words.
Hey, don't try to get over on me. I'm smarter than you'll ever be in your whole life.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy, Julia Chan, and her business partner, Michael Williams, say they designed a website for club promoter Ian McDonald. Julia and Michael claim they've never been paid.
So you had this discussion with him, and he said, let's do the work for 6 months, let's get it up and running, and then I'll give you $2,000. 6 months came and went, you did what you were supposed to do, no money.
Yeah.
Now you can talk.
The reality of the agreement is me and Julia were dating, so we were close. I felt comfortable with her, and I know Mike's work on poosmoke.com. I felt comfortable with him. We sat down as friends to talk about the future of compression. It's not, we did not approach them, this is what we need. Do you want to like have a job? It was, let's sit down, we're friends, let's talk about what we want to do in the future with the club. Let's talk about the website, let's talk about artist management, everything like they said. And in that conversation, you know, we talked about potential money that can be made, which I said I can see money being made. I can see $2,000 being made for you guys if you put in a good 6 months of work. I didn't think that this was a situation of like they're trying to find a day job and I'm the one who's going to pay their bills. I thought it was friends working together to better the club.
Oh, my goodness gracious me. Mr. McDonald, let me explain something to you. You made an agreement with these people. You said, listen, we're starting up this club. We're trying to get it off the ground. I can't afford to pay anything right now. But if you do certain things, 6 months from now, the club's going to be up and running. We're going to be making some money. And I can see paying you $2,000 for the work that you do. Your club's up and running. Your club's making money. There's no question in my mind that your club is making money because that's how you two guys are supporting yourself primarily. And with all the money that you're saving by not paying taxes like the rest of us schnooks, you can afford to pay them $2,000. Judgment
Nah.
for the plaintiff. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It never was a job in the first place.
Business-wise, I've been screwed enough to not get screwed anymore, and this was an agreement.
If I could put in my little 2 cents, I'll tell you what changed her mind, and it's that he broke up with her.
I don't know what to say about that, honestly. I think it's completely made up.
I think she was like secretly like in love with him more than she admitted, and I think that she had to take it to this level because she wasn't satisfied with what was going on personally between them.
I don't want it to be a he said, she said thing, but there's no vendetta on my part.
Don't work with friends.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Kind versus Cameron. Step forward, please.
19-year-old telemarketer Janae Kine is suing her ex-boyfriend, 24-year-old landscaper Wade Cameron, for crashing her car by pulling the emergency brake while she was driving.
Ms. Kime, according to your complaint, you were driving the defendant's car home from some sort of an event because he was intoxicated and couldn't
Correct.
drive. You got into an accident, you caused a great deal of damage to another car, and you were ordered to pay restitution, and you believe that the defendant should pay that restitution because it was his fault because he pulled the emergency brake,
Correct.
which caused you to skid out of control and hit the other car. The defendant says he did in fact pull the emergency brake, but he pulled it because you were driving erratically. That's your defense.
Yes.
How do you know each other?
We're dating.
How old are you?
19.
And you?
24.
What was the date of the accident?
January 3rd, 2002.
Where were you coming from?
We were coming home from a party that night.
Had you gone together?
Yes.
Just the two of you?
No, there was 3 other people with us in the car.
Were the other 3 people in the back of the car intoxicated?
Yes.
But you were not.
I was not.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Janae Kime says ex-boyfriend Wade Cameron caused her car to crash when he abruptly pulled the emergency brake.
Okay. Now, tell me about the accident.
I was driving his car home from the party. Everything was all right. We were like 2 houses down from his house, and then all of a sudden he pulls up the emergency brake, and the car that I'm driving slides into this parked car, and the owners of the car were sitting in the car at that time. And so I pulled the car around the block and parked it at his house, and then we all went down to make sure that everything was okay. And I was in shock when this all happened at the time, you know, because it was such like a dramatic experience that I went through, and it brought back memories of...
Don't give me your memories. I'm not interested in your memories.
Okay.
So you went back to see if everybody was okay.
Right, and Wade had told me at the time that he had insurance on his car, so I figured everything was taken care of. I was in shock, so I left, and...
You left before the police arrived.
Right. And I called him the next day, and I asked him what was going on. He gave me the number of the officer in Boulder that was handling the case. So I called her and let her know that I was driving the car, and then a couple days after that, I went up there. She wrote me a ticket, and then I went to court after that.
How did you contact the police, sir?
How did I contact the police? They contacted me.
You did when?
The following day, or that evening.
So what did you tell them that evening?
I told them basically what we were coming back from the party, and they were assuming that I was driving, but I wasn't, and because the person that was driving left the scene of the crime, so they were trying to direct it towards me. But I told them what happened, that she had taken off, and they wanted a description of her and everything, and then that once that I'd gotten contact with her, to have her contact them.
Let me see the police report. Did you first tell the police that somebody else was driving the car, sir?
They were asking who it was, and I was describing who it was, and I didn't exactly say what she'd look like.
Who's Tamara?
I was a made-up person.
So you lied to the police?
Well, I didn't know her name exactly at the time. Like,
You didn't know whose name?
well, I was drunk, so I was just mumbling out words.
Hey, don't try to get over on me. I'm smarter than you'll ever be in your whole life. Bird, you have a piece of paper there?
I do.
I want you to give her a piece of paper and give him a piece of paper, and I want each of them to write down, prior to today, when the last time was that each of these people saw each other, spent any time with each other. Do you understand my question? Prior to today.
Okay.
You need a pen? You need an extra pen? I want them to do it independently.
Thank you.
Look over here, sir. Eyes front. Write down the date.
The exact.
Write down the date that each of you remembers that you spent any time together prior to today's date. I'll take them. Thank you.
His, hers, yours.
Thank you. Okay, very good. Now, what did you have to pay restitution for, by the way?
I had to pay restitution for $6,839 for the whole damage to the car that I hit.
Because he didn't have insurance?
Right, and yet he told me he did.
When did he tell you he did?
He told me he did that night before I was going to drive his car, because I was planning on driving them home anyways. And I was like, "You have insurance, right?" He's like, "Yes, I
Oh,
do."
sure you asked him, do you have insurance? Oh, do I
No,
believe that?
I really did.
Do I believe that?
I really
Sure I do believe that. You said to him, I'll drive your car because you're drunk. By the way, do you have insurance? I want to tell you something. I think that all of you people got together and made up a very good story. That's what I think. It's not going to wash with me. I don't believe he pulled the emergency brake. I believe the car spun out of control. Did you have a driver's license?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Good. After this whole thing happened, did he accept full responsibility?
We had had conversations, about this happening, and he promised that he would pay me $200 a month for all the restitution bills, because I have to pay $200 a month for the next 4 years for this car that he wrecked.
How much longer did you date after this incident?
We didn't date at all after this. The only time that we saw each other was just to converse about this, about the case, and about what
Really, where were you?
It had been maybe at his house a couple times when I'd go up there.
At his house a couple of
Yeah,
times?
when I would go up there to go try to get the money, because I couldn't get a hold of him because he was avoiding my calls.
Okay. And when was the last time you saw him to ask him for money?
Last time that I saw him was a couple months ago. The last time I asked him for money was a couple weeks ago probably about 3 weeks ago before I went and filed the case in Boulder.
And where were you when you asked him for the money?
I was at my house on the phone the last time.
When was the last time you saw him?
The last time that I saw him was...
At his house, at your house?
At his
for
house?
Coffee, something.
No, I just asked him for money. It was probably about 2 months ago.
And when was the last time you say you saw her?
Last time I saw her was when we went to court for that.
Which was when?
When I don't know the exact date of when that court date was, but we had the same court date, so that's the last time I saw her.
And did you tell the judge in court that this was all your fault?
Basically, just to get it was already.
I'm asking you a question.
Yes.
Did you tell the judge in court that the accident was all your fault? The answer is yes or no.
Yes.
What did the judge say to you?
That was it.
Were you ordered to pay any fine?
No.
Any restitution?
No.
Interesting. Well, one of you say that the last time you saw each other was February 28th. One of you says the last time you saw each other was January 10th. It's interesting, isn't it?
So
Isn't it?
Very interesting.
Case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
That's all.
This is case number 321 on the calendar in the matter of Pickering versus Cannon.
Good. Thank you, Bert.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated.
Bert, would you do me a favor, please? You know that pesky fly that we had around here a couple of months ago?
Yep.
Well, he's been resurrected. So could you get me one of those little things that you got me before this?
No problem.
Thank you very much. And Miss Pickering and Mr. Cannon look like two well-behaved people, so I can manage without you for a minute.
Be right back.
Thank you. Miss Pickering, according to your complaint, you and the defendant were in a relationship and you made a loan to him. It was a loan so that he could take a trip, some sort of a bus trip, a sports trip with some other men. And you want the money back because the relationship is over.
Yes.
Mr. Cannon says that there was never a loan, that this was sort of a quid pro quo because he had arranged for refinancing on your house at some point. I know you're smiling. We'll get to it.
Okay.
He had arranged for refinancing on your house, saved you a whole bunch of money, and you agreed that he would be paid by you financing this trip. That's your defense.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Good, thank you. Thank you.
miss. Yeah.
I know it was on the lip. Cut on. Anyway. So, Ms. Pickering, were you and the defendant living together?
No, Your Honor, we were not. We were dating.
Objection.
Listen to me. Listen. Don't interrupt her. Do you understand? You will have an opportunity to speak when she's finished.
Yes, ma'am.
Go.
When I divorced my husband and moved back to South Carolina, Mr. Cannon was one of the people contracted to move my furniture back to South Carolina from Georgia. I was reintroduced to him at that time. We went to middle school together. Immediately after I returned, we began dating.
But never lived together?
Never lived together, but he spent most of the time with me. It was very, we talked about getting married. He talked about how it was destiny for us to be together.
Stop.
Don't frustrate me.
Yes, ma'am. I was just saying, let's get to
No.
Yes.
When I look at your direction and ask you a question, you're going to speak.
Yes, ma'am.
Other than that, you're not going to speak.
Okay.
So when I said you didn't live together, the answer was we didn't live together, we dated.
We dated.
Fine. Tell me about this loan that you made to him, when that was, because there were two parts of the loan.
Exactly. Mr. Cannon and I had been supportive of each other, making small loans back and forth financially to help each other out when needed during the time that we dated. This particular occasion, in October, he sponsored a trip for
October
the guys.
of what year?
October of 2001. He sponsored a trip to a Falcons football game in Atlanta. At some point, he did not have the money to pay for the tickets. So he asked me if he could borrow the money.
How much money did he need?
It was $960 for the tickets. Although we had exchanged money before loaning process, I felt very uncomfortable with this amount.
Well, had the previous loans been smaller loans?
They had been much smaller, $50, $100, $150. So, and it had been repaid. Because I felt uncomfortable, I wrote the check to the travel agency.
Can I see that, please?
I would not write it to him, nor would I give him cash. I was under the assumption that when the guys boarded the bus, that they would pay the remaining balance. When they returned from the trip, I heard of how wonderful it was.
When was the trip?
The trip was in November.
Okay.
I heard of how wonderful it was and received a magnet, but not my money.
Okay.
At that point, I did not question him about it. I was hoping that he would do the right thing because, once again, this is someone I wanted to marry. Later on, in the 11th, November, he also borrowed money again and again in December.
Well, what did he borrow money in November for?
I was under the impression that it was Christmas gifts. During this time, I've been throwing hints that I wanted an engagement ring. I'm hoping that this was for that purpose.
So you were giving him money hoping that he would buy you a ring?
I was giving him money hoping that it would help him purchase the Christmas gifts for his children and then have extra to do what I wanted him to do.
How much did you give him in November?
In November, I gave him a check of $135, and I clearly marked on there that it was a loan. And in December, I also gave a check of $50, and I marked that that was a loan as well.
Miss Pickering, he hadn't paid you back the October money yet. Why are you giving him more money?
At that time, we were talking about moving in together. I was, lack of a better judgment, I was a fool for love.
Right. Okay. I'm not interested in these two little loans. I'm not interested in that because that comes under the category of stupidity. If you lend somebody almost $1,000 and they don't pay you back when they get off the bus, and you lend them another $50 and another $135, then you're not too smart.
But once again, Your Honor, he was promising me the whole time, making promises. This is someone.
Promises of what?
Of commitment, of relationship.
Just
of
a second.
repaying.
I don't care about commitment relationship. That's not my job. You want to go commitment relationship? Go on Jerry Springer. If you want to come here, this is a court. Court, you talk about if he's making statements to you, he's making statements about returning the money. Exactly. That's all I'm interested in.
And he had returned money in the past, and I indicated that it was a loan on the check.
I understand that, madam. You're not following me. If you give somebody almost $1,000, which you said to me a moment ago was more money than you would ever given them, and you thoroughly expected him to have the money as soon as he put his keister back on land where you were, and all he gave you was a magnet.
Yes, sir.
Right? Then when he comes to you and says, I need another $135, I need another $50, you say, you're not getting another penny, my dear, until I get back my $960. And if you do, deal with it. And I don't want to hear about commitment. Commitment, we go someplace else. Commitment, we don't deal with here. All right. Let me hear from you.
I'm glad you settled that for me, Your Honor.
Don't thank me yet. I'm not finished with you. Where's her $960?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So I, being the wonderful person that I am, tried to save her a lot of money by letting her go through one of my mortgage brokers.
What did that cost you?
It didn't cost me anything when it
Right.
saved her thousands.
Right.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kendra Pickering says ex-boyfriend Charles Cannon owes for the cost to attend a football game with his friends. Charles says he saved her thousands by helping to refinance her mobile home.
Go ahead.
Actually, it should be a balance of $40 owed to me
Just tell me where her...
because at the time, right before, I think it was right around September, I was working part-time selling mobile homes. By doing that, I was involved and had relationships with several different mortgage companies. At the time, Ms. Pickering was talking about getting a house refinanced. She had went around to several different other mortgage companies.
I did not.
I don't want to hear you.
Thank you.
Talking. Keep talking. I can multitask.
Actually, she was thinking about refinancing the house through the mortgage company she was in at the time that she was thinking about refinance. So I, being the wonderful person that I am, tried to save her a lot of money by letting her go through one of my mortgage brokers.
And what did that cost you?
Actually, it didn't cost me anything. What it
Right.
did saved her thousands.
Right. Didn't cost you anything.
So I agreed. I said, look, she's getting $13,000 back. I said, well, I agree to set you up with the guy. Just give me a $1,000 referral fee.
What kind of character are you?
We wasn't in a relationship. This is
What kind of a character
her
are you?
imagination of this marriage.
Listen to me. What kind of character are you?
Wonderful. You know,
No. No. Not wonderful. Not
I had
wonderful.
to pay. What, could you quit
Not
asking?
wonderful.
Yes, ma'am.
And don't tell me no relationship, because although I'm not entertaining these things, clearly she gave you this money.
Well, it wasn't to the extent that she's saying, you know.
Don't give me extent. Whether you have a little extent, sir, that's your problem, or a bigger extent, that's maybe everybody's problem. He has a smaller extent, he won't acknowledge that.
Well,
listen to me very carefully. If you have even a smaller extent relationship, which will be your long-term problem,
Yes, ma'am.
or not,
Yes, ma'am.
if you are in a relationship with somebody and intimate with somebody, and if they need something and it doesn't cost you anything, because you know somebody who could help her out getting refinancing for her house, and you hook her up with that person, then you don't be a pig and say, well, I'm saving you all this money, so why don't you give me a little bit of money, because I saved you all that money. You say, I'm glad I could do something nice for you.
I mean, but
I was
only doing the American way.
But do it the American way with somebody else that you're not sleeping with, sir.
Well, Your Honor,
Well,
this
don't
was
give
not,
me, well, Your Honor. You owe her $960. She gave it to you. Why don't you give the money back to her and say finished?
My point is, the big point is, this was not an issue until she came to my house one evening. I said, look, I don't want to be bothered. Okay, this was over a year after. She didn't file this till after a year after.
I don't want to hear. Yeah, so?
It wasn't a big issue till she came to my house.
Yeah.
Way out of control. I said, look, I don't want to be bothered. I'm ready to move on. And the police department had to come by. They told her, look, ma'am, you need to leave. And then she came up with the issues about the money. And they said, well, if that's the problem, you need to go file it in court.
So if this lady is saying to you, this is standing in the way of my moving forward, clearly you benefited from this money. Clearly I gave it to you, $960.
Yes, ma'am.
I feel as if I've been used. You don't want a relationship anymore, and you don't want to return the money. Relationship, I can't force you, but the money, I want you to pay me. Then you give her the money. It didn't cost you any money, right? So you act like a man, whether you have a big commitment or a little commitment. You give her back the money. $960, judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He knows that he's made promises of love, commitment, gave me a ring at Christmas, and now he denies all of this.
It was spoken about.
I'm just in awe at how he could lie.